Hey everybody, I'm Brigham Rupp. This is Dave Rupp. Dave's the owner and engineer behind Drift, and we're here at the Drift headquarters. Welcome. And we want to tell you guys about our favorite powder boards that we got to ride last year. We have a chance to ride a lot of different boards, and we thought we should start sharing some of our experience with those, especially in the backcountry. So if you want to know a little bit about our stats, check out the description below. Also, we'll list some of the boards that we rode and compared these to. But let's get into it. Dave, you want to go first?
The boards I want to talk about today, the first one's going to be the Nitro Quiver Cannon, the 203. It's kind of a novelty item, but I thought it was worth chatting about today. Only because last year's winter here in Utah had so many deep days that we actually pulled this board out and had a lot of fun. It's kind of a 20-plus inch day that, before I would grab this. I did hike with it, so I carried this on my pack. Is it perfect? It sits pretty tall on your back, but it works well. It's nice. Obvious downsides is turning. It's pretty much a tank, but the plus sides are that it's like incredibly fast, and it's incredibly fast not just on the steepest hills, but also on like the shallowest hills. So big Abbey danger days, I was grabbing this board and having so much fun on lower angle terrain. Is it going to be your first pick to go in the trees? It's not. It's hard to turn, so it could get a little unwieldy. But nice flex, and it just planes out and is super fast. That's why I kind of picked it as a novelty board for those big, deep days. Did ride it on the resort one day even, and when everybody else was boot packing out of zones, the cannon just glides over. It's pretty awesome. So
Sweet.
Any questions?
So
Greg?
not just a novelty.
I'm not getting rid of it, and it's not. It has its place. It's super fast. It's pretty dang fun.
And so, I mean, it's really long. It's not very wide, and you're saying you can get some things out of this that a shorter, wider board probably won't give you.
Yeah, I think that there's nothing that can compare to it. Does that mean you're going to grab it every time? Probably not.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. My first pick, I'm going to go with the Weston Japow. The shape of this board is everything you would expect for something called the Japow, and that would be awesome in powder. It's got a super wide, long nose with tons of early rise and some camber in the back. This thing kept me up on top of the snow, similar to what you're describing, maybe not quite as exaggerated as with the Cannon, but in the deepest snow, and even when it was low angle, floating when I saw other people getting stuck. This is a 169, so it's pretty long still. My only complaint about it, I mean, I loved riding it. I love how it turns. It doesn't turn very big. It's pretty surfy. My only beef is that really long nose is fairly soft, and as soon as the snow starts to get tracked out, that board became less fun. It seemed like that wide, long nose started to get kicked around. So I liked it in the best snow.
What depth is the best snow for you?
I don't know. I mean, I pulled it out when it was deep,
10 plus.
I think it's fine in shallower.
Yeah.
It's totally fine in shallower. It's not as fun once it's cut up. So like on a resort day, I would probably put that away after a few laps if it was tracked up.
Cool. So next board I want to grab is the Bataleon, and it's kind of interesting because it's the opposite in length. I normally am grabbing like a 159, 161. This is coming in at a 154, and I was grabbing this from 5 to 20 inches and having a fantastic day, and it obviously carries better on your back, and did get some resort time in this. So this board definitely got a little bit more action. It has really good full camber setup, turns really well. There's two things that I want to know. One of the things that I love about this spoon is that when you're on a turn and you lose some of that surface area, the bowl really helps you stay up and float well. So that and just that full camber makes this thing really fun to turn. Still kind of doing the big swooping turns. The downside that I feel for this was the swallowtail kind of changes your angle and keeps you from planing out. So in those shallow terrain, this is not going to do as well. It wanted steeper hills to go fast. But still a great board, great profile, and pretty stiff in the rear end, which is nice, and can handle a groomer pretty well too.
Yeah, actually, so I rode this in a 162, and it would probably be my third favorite board that I rode. But I actually think this is a better resort board. It's more fun with the full camber and the way that it carves once you get into snow that's tracked out. So if I was at a resort on a pow day, I'd probably happily ride that the whole time. But on the very best conditions, these other boards beat it out for me just a little bit. Mostly, I think, because of the profile with the early rise and stuff. But yeah, I love it. And it's also super light. It is expensive, but it's a beautiful board, and it's super light. It's, for me,
super nice.
Worth it. All right, my second pick, and I actually rode this the most, I think, last year. I just kept grabbing it, is the Jones Storm Chaser. Another board where everything about it says, ride me in deep snow. So this actually has no camber. It's a little bit banana shaped, almost flat up to the front foot, and then just tons of rise from there. It's super wide, and it's also got a little bit of spoon tech. So all the float that you could hope for, and a little bit of a swallowtail that helps that back end drop a little bit. When I looked at this, I thought that that's going to be just a super surfy, slashy board, and you can definitely do that. That's also not my favorite way to ride. I tend to burn my vertical way too quick. I like to go fast, and I like to go pretty straight. And you can surf and slash on that, but the thing that surprised me and that I was excited about is you can charge pretty hard on this board. And I think that's mainly because as you go back towards the back foot, it just gets stiffer and stiffer. It's pretty stiff overall, but it's really stiff on the back end, so it's actually pretty stable, and probably a little better than the Japao when it starts to get tracked out. I never rode it on groomers, but I've heard people say it's good. I have my doubts. I'd probably rather have a camber board, but love to carry it. Love the shorter, wider option, and yeah, rode that probably more than anything. It's sweet. The only downside is it's kind of heavy. It's, if you look at it on that back end, it's a thick board.
Spoon versus 3BT.
The 3BT on the Bataleon, I would say, is totally different. It's totally noticeable when you turn a Bataleon board, and I actually really like it. Some people don't. The Jones and other brands who are doing like a little bit of spoon tech, it's like a couple of millimeters, and I think it adds a nice benefit, but you do not feel it. Like, you don't get on a Jones in my experience and go like, oh, this is like a little different to ride. You do that with a Bataleon, so pretty different. But I like what Jones is doing. It's a nice touch. Cool. So those were our favorites from this last year. Hit us up if you have any questions. We're hoping to do a few more of these and talk about quite a few other boards that we got to get on. And that's just our favorite thing, getting out, especially into the backcountry and the best snow, and seeing what these different boards are all about. Hoping to share some of that with you guys. So we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks.